Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if God like Naruto build harem with fem jashin, bashing part 3. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. Today is a sunny Monday with the sun already rising to the very top of the sky, and the people of Konoha were already out and about living their daily lives with others opening up shop, heading to work, or for some others, going to the missions administration's office for missions to do for the day per month or year whatever rank or pay they would get for the time being. However, inside one of the many gold-plated bedrooms of the temple is one Naruto Uzumaki sleeping comfortably in a queen-size bed with a Mitelt hugging his right arm and resting her head on his shoulder. In a fire shunshin, Udatane appears in the room dressed in her female Anbu attire, with no shoes showing her feet and colorless toenails obviously, and her fox mask hiding her beautiful face. She looks down to see her master was still fast asleep with the lowly fallen angel sleeping by his side as well, and frowned at the thought she was now going to disturb his sleep as that was one of the many things Naruto didn't like happening to him. Well, apart from a series of events many would call bad luck and ending up with humans who love him right off the bat of the acquaintance then becoming his servants without his consent in the matter, yeah, that's what he doesn't like. He would always tell her that he could wake up on his own time, but he somehow fails to do that as she once left him to be and he ended up sleeping the whole day and waking up 4 in the p.m. She gently removed her mask showing her beautiful face and dark eyes, then walked over to Naruto's side of the bed and crouched down as she said to him. Naruto-sama. Naruto-sama. It's time to wake up. Naruto-sama. The former elder was met with gloss black white ringed eyes that slowly opened up with a yawn and sitting up, then Naruto turned to her and said, "Thanks, Yuta-chan. I would have slept in if it wasn't for you. You made breakfast yet?" "Hi, Naruto-sama. Milk and cereal is at the kitchen waiting for you, and I have washed your clothes and headband just as you asked me to. It's all there in the wardrobe when you're done with your shower," responded Udatane. Naruto thanked her and got out of bed to go shower and prepare for the day. 20 minutes later and we see Naruto quickly putting on his clothes which were the usual pair of black shinobi sandals and a white t-shirt adored with a black upside-down star but with the green Chunin flak jacket on top with the kunai and scroll holsters being filled, and the Konoha headband was tied around his neck with his small platinum braid chain still around his neck but he now had some black fingerless gloves on with gold plates on them that have the Uzumaki clan swirl on them engraved. The blonde stepped out the room then took the stars down to the first floor kitchen to see Jashin and Tuka wearing identical nightdresses which were white with a black swirl and crescent moon pattern on them as the two were sitting at the kitchen table holding up white cards that have the faces of women instead of numbered hearts or kings, queens and jacks. Naruto greeted the two mother and daughter who greeted him back but not looking at him. "Anyo. Naruto-sama. Mitelt says she left your room with Oni-chan taking a shower with you. Did you finally have with her? And what is like?" said Tuka with Jashin also finishing. "Is she as matured in the bed as she is on the battlefield?" "Nope. She's actually into the rough stuff. Kind of fun though, but you two shouldn't be talking about her like that and neither should I. You're making her sound like a slave." Deadpan, Naruto-sama. "We aall or your bitches besides Anko-chan. Also, I ate your cereal since it was starting to get soggy." "Gomenasai, Naruto-sama," I smiles. Naruto eye rolled at this, and was about to say something when poof. A toad appeared through a poof of smoke on the kitchen counter as it said to Naruto, "Hey kid, Jiraiya sent me to tell you a council meeting is being held right now about who will be the Godime Hokage. You better hurry you're over there quickly or else you'll miss out on who it will be," then left again in a poof of smoke. Naruto eye widened at this with white dinner plates, then quickly gave both Jashin and Tuka peck on the cheeks before he left in a black flash. Jashin was looking at her cards, then looked at Tuka in the eye as she said, "Who's your pick, Tuka-chan? Remember that she needs to be someone who has lost someone dear to her, and is looking for a change of pace in her life and has a dream she wishes to achieve but feels she can't accomplish it on her own, and she has to be smoking hot obviously. Tuka kept silent for a moment, then placed a card down on the table that has a blue-haired woman, with an origami flower in her hair, on it as she responded to her god creator. Conan. She was born in Omegakure and lost her parents to the Second Shinobi War. She met two boys, namely Yahiko and Nagato Uzumaki, and lived with them ever since as they both began to share the same ideals and dreams for peace in aim then peace for the world. She later lost Yahiko who was her best friend which has greatly affected her life but still managed to keep her humanity, but her other best friend Nagato didn't as he became the shell of his former self and now only works to achieve the goal of capturing all Jinchuriki and extracting the Biju to create something he clearly doesn't know well about. Conan has found out who was behind the death of her best friend Yahiko along with manipulating Nagato, and has been training herself into the ground ever since to get back at him, kill him then try and help her friend deal with the lose of Yahiko so that he could realize that all he has been doing was wrong and should be himself once again. Omegakure no Sato. Achoo. Achoo. Are both of you okay? You just sneezed at the same time, said a raven-haired beauty with three Tomoed Sharingan eyes dressed in a black and red clouded cloak with a female Anbu attire underneath it. A tall man dressed in the same cloak and has a lot of piercings on his face with purple ripple pattern eyes replied. One of the civilians in my village must be talking in praises of me and Conan. Clears throat Conan, Izumi. Zetsu has just recently gotten word that the Toad Sage of Konoha will be on the move to a place called Tanzaku Town with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. I was planning on sending Izumi with her partner Kisame, but he is already taking up an assassination mission from one of the merchants of the Land of Water to raise money for the organization, so I will be sending Conan with you, Izumi. But Naga, you will not address me by that name, Conan. Clenches hands into fists and grits teeth, but Pain-sama, I already have my duties here in aim to keep the peace and make sure that crime is always reduced to a non-existent level like it always should to be as it is. I am not exactly trained for Jinchuriki capturing like everyone else is. This is not up for discussion, Conan. You will be leaving with Izumi for Konoha immediately. If what the bingo book says is true about the Kyuubi Jinchuriki being an A- ranked chunin, then Izumi here will need your assistance making sure the capture goes well. However, if you are to face any difficulties, then aborting the mission to capture the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is optional. Am I understood? Hi, Leader Sama, Pain Sama. Back with Jashin and Tuka. Jashin glances at the card and slightly eye widened with a blush on her cheeks and gasped as she said to Tuka. Kawaii. She's so beautiful too. And she has a lot in common with you like your coldness towards men except for Naruto-sama, your undying loyalty and dedication to a cause and goal and you are both emotionally fragile. Well you are more than her of course since you cry during and all that eye roll Tuka grew a small tick mark at the last comment, but I smiled to Jashin as she said, somehow, I believe that Kagaya-sama is the one who has been attracting all of these women in the temple to Naruto-sama. I believe that Conan will somehow interact with Naruto-sama from day one, and their relationship could start up very quickly just as he did with all the women in his life. That's the whole point of this game we're playing, Cyclops-chan. Now what kind of woman do you have for me? Said Jashin. Tuka looked up to the ceiling with her black and red eye for a moment, then looked back to Jashin as she said. Someone who is closely related to Naruto-sama, and is more or less the same age as Oni-chan. Someone who has left her home over the guilt of hearing her last hope for family and or love died. Demo, she was actually lied to as her young godson mate only turns out to be well alive and was living a horrible life in the said home since he was born. She comes from a very famous and prestigious family or clan and is greatly respected and known for her skills as a kunoichi, that and you have already went to her in her dreams telling her everything, giving her your precious water of youth, and you have secretly got her into other vices that I'm quite sure Naruto-sama won't find pleasing. Narrows eyes. You were looking at my cards, weren't you? And you were reading my mind according to the stuff you last said just now. I do not know what you are talking about, Jashin-sama, said Tuka who avoided her godmother creator's gaze while casually whistling and playing with the small strands of her blue hair, causing the gray-haired Loli to deadpan and sweat drop at the same time as she placed a card down on the table that has the picture of a beautiful blonde-haired woman with hazel brown eyes. There. Tsunade Senju. You already know everything about her since you saw my cards, you cute crybaby. I seriously don't know what you are talking about, Jashin-sama. The fuck you don't now come here. Chases a screaming Tuka around the first floor of the temple while being careful not to break anything. In a casino. AAAAACHOOO. Are you alright, Tsunade-sama? That sneeze was pretty powerful. You must have a cold from all that alcohol and not eating well, said a brunette woman holding a small well-dressed pig. Who was standing next to a blonde-haired woman with hazel brown eyes and a violet diamond-shaped dot on her forehead, dressed in a green haori with the Kenji for battle written on the back inside a red circle, on top of a gray kimono-style blouse with no sleeves as it was held closed by a broad dark bluish-gray obi matching her pants, and has a necklace with a small green gem hanging from it. I'm okay, Shizune-chan, someone must be really talking crap about me, or probably persevering about me at the same time. Probably that idiot Jiraiya. Sigh, I better be finished here soon, I need to get ready for what's to come a few days from now. Shuans looked confused at what Tsunade said, and voiced her confusing as she followed Tsunade out of the casino and into the hotel they were residing in for the time being. Anyo, Tsunade-sama, what exactly do you keep talking about when you say that? You've been acting strangely since a few months back, well, not exactly since you haven't stopped drinking or gambling. If you must know, I'm planning on going back home, and I met someone when you were away on one of your jobs to heal someone, leaving me, poor little old me, alone. Now stop asking questions and help me shampoo my hair. Hi, Tsunade-sama. I wonder who she met for her to finally go home. 5 minutes later. Kanahagakure no Sato. Council Chambers. In the council chambers, everyone, besides Naruto, was present, with all the clan heads looking well awake and sharp for the day, except for Shikaku Nara, of course, and the new batch of civilian council members looked more smart, respectable and professional than the last batch, with one of the members of this new civilian council being Tsuki Ichiraku, dressed in a red and white formal suit with a black tie, wearing some glasses on. In a quick black flash, Naruto appeared behind his seat and quickly sat on it while mentioning greetings and apologies to everyone and the Sandame, who nodded in acceptance but told him to be more serious on arriving on time. The Sandame quickly stood up from his seat and was handed a black sealed envelope from Homura and said to the people seated before him, "People of the council, before we move along with the usual agendas of this meeting, I would like to announce that the votes for who is to be the Godime Hokage are now in, and these results were sent to the Fire Daimyo for approval and have now returned back for final confirmation and my agreement. As you all know, the candidate spots are first accounted for, then they are later opened to anyone who would like to be chosen and voted for by the council to be the next Hokage of Kanahagakure no Sato. However, in order to be a candidate for this position in a village, you first need to have an A- to SSS rank level in your record as a ninja, be a Junin or a clan head of a clan that has a seat in the council of the village, and lastly have your candidate spot approved by myself and the council. Since it was only Uzumaki-san here you applied for the many 5 spots that were open, the council had no other choice but to make a short list of their own, since there was no one else who wanted to be a candidate competing with Uzumaki-san for the position. In relation to that list, the council has first approached Kakashi Hatake, who denied, then went on to ask Jiraiya, who also denied. Now the results of who was chosen are finally in. The Sandame opened up the envelope and spoke as he was looking at the piece of paper from the envelope. The candidate that was chosen by the council of Kanahagakure no Sato and approved by the court of the Fire Country is Tsunade Senju of the Sannin, and current clan head of the Senju clan. The council nodded to what the Sandame said, but Naruto sighed to himself sadly as he said, "Oh well, there's always next time, since I still have the rest of my life ahead of me. I wouldn't be bummed out about it, Naruto-kun," said one Sume Inuzuka, seating on Naruto's right side, who smiled at Naruto with eye smiles and continued, "You really came in close if it wasn't for your age. If you were at least 16 years old or older, they would have given you the spot right then and there, but we all decided that your shinobi career should expand first and wait for you to gain enough experience and trust from the village first. The people of Konoha may love you now, but it's all in your mother and father's name. Once you work your way up and work hard enough and never give up on your dream, I'm sure your name will be the one to be picked next time. Sigh, thanks, Sum-san, that really cheers me up, said Naruto, who smiled at Sum but turned his attention back to the Sandaime, who cleared his throat once again and said, Tsunade Senju left the village 14 years ago on the day of the Kyuubi attack and has not returned since that time. Her reason for leaving Konoha is because of what the previous batch of the civilian council had told her, as they said that the Yondaime along with his wife and child had died in the Kyuubi attack, but it was all false and a plan to make sure Uzumaki-san was to never be adopted or taken care of, and only wanted him to be isolated from anyone who would try to be in any relationship with him. Tsunade has been traveling the elemental nations on Sanin rites, and she was last seen somewhere within the fire country, meaning she will be staying there for the next month or so according to the normal activities she spends her time doing in the fire country. The council has given the task to Jiraiya to find her and bring her back to the village, but he has also made a request for someone to accompany him in getting Tsunade to return, as that person will be the key to convincing her to not only come back but also take the position of becoming Hokage. Sigh. Those cards. I swear to Ya-chan's father I will find those damn cards and I'll freaking tear them up when I see them, was what Naruto was thinking as he pinched the breech of his nose with his left eyebrow twitching in anger, confusing some of the people who saw him this way. Naruto looked up to see the confusion and worry, then I smiled as he said, I'm just a little tired from all the missions I've been taking lately, that's all. No need to worry about me, everyone. Jiraiya, who was standing besides the chair of the Sandaime, stepped forward and said, the person who will be accompanying me on finding Suan will be my godson Naruto Uzumaki, and I have already spoken with Hokage-sama about giving him a month leave from shinobi duties. Would you like to go with Jiraiya, Naruto? If you do not feel like going with him, you can simply deny the request. Demo, you must know that Tsunade will truly not come back to the village, let alone take the position, if she doesn't get the full truth of you being alive in the first place, said Hiruzen, who was looking at Naruto, and the blonde looked back to the Sandaime and asked. Anyo, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of relationship did Tsunade Senju have with my parents that makes me so important to her, Hokage-sama? Instead of the Sandaime answering, it was Jiraiya who answered while taking out a piece of rolled-up paper then unrolling it. Tsunade had a very good relationship with the Yondaime and Kushina-san. As a matter of fact, Tsunade and Kushina wanted to conjoin their clans through the simple act of a marriage contract. The people who were drawn up in this contract is Tsunade, and you, Naruto. Quote. Sigh, somehow. I saw that coming. Said an irritated and bored Naruto, while the rest of the council were momentarily shocked, but began to talk amongst themselves about the marriage contract, but Shuza, who was sitting on Naruto's left side, said to the blonde, haha. Another hot and old lady in the bag, hey Naruto. You are seriously on a roll, my good friend. Maybe some time from now, your third wife will be Shizuka Marikawa, the owner of the Golden Leaf restaurant. According to the rumors, she is the only woman who is said to be as beautiful as Tsunade-sama, and match her, you know what, hehe. God, Shuza, is that all you see in that poor woman? Asked Sum. Hey, give me a break, Sum-san. You would also think the same as me if you saw her too, said Shuza. Actually, Sum-san, Shuza is right about Shizuka-san. I once saw her when I took my family out for dinner there, and my mouth just wouldn't close no matter how hard Ino's mother looked at me, said Inoichi. Grunts, the woman is dense and completely ditzy. It took her 2 hours to take Yoshino's order the one time we went there with her taking the customers' orders, said a woken up Shikaku. Geez, you man are all the same. You're all like dogs, said Sum, only to be met with a glare by Hiashi, who said, oh well, look who's talking. Ubyor rrn, said a sarcastic Naruto who looked at the adults before him arguing amongst each other. The Sandame cleared his throat, causing the chatter amongst the council members to stop, then pay attention to him again. Now that we have closed that matter, let's move on to the other agendas for the day. The next day, Kanahagakure no Sato, West Gate. It was 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and here we find one Jiraiya dressed in his normal attire with his large scroll hanging over his right shoulder behind his back, and he was waiting patiently for his godson Naruto to arrive so that the trip would start. Blissful sigh, and here I was thinking to myself that I would never get the chance to go on a trip with the kid. Looks like I'll finally get to know him better like I promised his father. Every time I tried to stop by the temple, that crazy cannibal woman keeps threatening to eat my damn purpose on this earth right off of me if I ever stepped any close to the doors. I better avoid my research for the time being with this kid, or else I'm really gonna lose everything like that sweet hot spring because of that whimpering closet pervert Ebisu grunts. After 20 minutes of waiting, Naruto was finally arriving with a large red scroll of his own hanging behind his back over his right shoulder, but what caused the Toad Sage to frown was Jashin walking besides Naruto dressed in something many would call kinky. For a girl to wear, think of a private Japanese school uniform for young boys with again, no shoes, and she was carrying a large backpack on her back. Hey, hold on a minute here. I said only you could come. Not her, said Jiraiya, only to be with a glare from Naruto that caused him to flinch. If I'm gonna come with you on this, then I can bring someone along for the trip ahead, and I've some rules for you while we're at it. Rule 1, no perving. Rule 2, no perving, and finally Rule 3, which no perving. Got that, Arrow Senin? Yeah, I get it already. But do you have to call me that? Glares again. I think I have reason enough to call you that. Now can we please leave before Tsunade-san disappears again? Said Naruto, with Jiraiya reluctantly agreeing at having his godson's very first servant tag along, who of course stuck her self-bitten and bleeding tongue at Jiraiya, who shivered at the image of her doing that being engraved in his mind, added to the many things other horrific nightmares he suffered at the hands of the goddess, all because of his research on the other lowly servant of Naruto and his first wife, the unmarried Anko Mitarashi. Jiraiya took notice of the girl's lack of shoes and said to her, if you don't mind me asking, Jashin, why do you and everyone else besides Anko not wear any shoes? Jashin smirked as she responded, as the first servant of the Uzumaki clan and Naruto-sama, I have made it a law that a servant of the clan will wear no shoes as a sign of the servitude to the Uzumaki clan and Naruto-sama. That, and she has a foot fetish. A large foot fetish, I might add, said Naruto, with Jashin nodding happily to his statement with a small cute blush on her cheeks, making Jiraiya to stare at her and say, that actually isn't surprising at all. Mind you, it is weird, but not surprising, and I'm sure she's a masochist by the way she loves blood and hurting herself every time. Anyways, if we're gonna be moving around the fire country for Tsunade, we were gonna need to travel fast, as that lady never stays in one place for more than 3 days. Now let's move out. Sitting on a bench at a park eating an apple is Azazel, and sitting besides him is a man named Baraquile, who is a middle-aged gruff-looking man with black hair, a matching beard and a muscular body. There was silence between the two as Azazel looked on at the humans before him exercising in the park, walking their dogs, having a fun time with their families, or doing other things, while Baraquile was reading a newspaper in peaceful silence. The silence ended when Baraquile folded the paper up, then placed it on his lap as he looked over to Azazel and said, You know, Azazel, you never did tell me how you came to be Jashin-sama's trusted angel, or any of us for that matter. Apart from you falling from lust when you were an angel, your time spent in heaven was very limited, and no one really knew what you did on your own time, since angels back then did not have the luxuries and duties they have now. Hey, sinkers. It took you 100 years to think of asking me that question. Azazel asked, to which Baraquile still gave him a stoic expression but said, I was never interested on your history or past, Azazel. I am only wondering what is your connection to the goddess of blood and destruction, and why she has told you so much about herself and her religion. This contract you have formed with her master has made us all confused as to why such a thing would be drawn up between the two of you. We know you want to avoid the coming war at all costs, but to go as far as to get the protection of that boy who has the power of the original god. Why? All right, said Azazel, I guess I do owe you an explanation. You see, during the times of heaven having Kaguya-sama as a ruler, angels were pretty much given the same rights as human beings and they didn't have much to fall for as they were allowed to get away with anything those days, but the problem is, they knew next to nothing about freedom and how to use it. Every single day it was learn this, learn that, know how to fly and save humans beings, you get the deal, Baraquile. Nobody asked questions about what should they do with their spare time. Hell. They didn't know they had such a luxury until now, which is obviously too late. Believe me, Baraquile, life as an angel was a lot of things but fun back then. I got bored of it fast, and I wanted to use my freedom for something else rather than taking quiet strolls through Heaven's City with angels that don't even acknowledge each other's existence at the slightest. I left heaven without telling anybody and got myself right into Kaguya-sama's temple at the world of the Holy Tree. From there, I met Jashin-sama, who was the first person to notice my leave of heaven, and asked me why did I leave in the first place. I simply told her I was bored and I wanted something else to do other than the shit I was given the choice to do as an angel, which is again, bullshit to me. I don't know how, but I somehow got her interested in me, and she helped me see just what kind of fun stuff humans were doing with their lives, and all the luxuries the original God has given them to have for the rest of their mortal lives in the plane of the living. I guess I can say I owe it to Jashin-sama for falling as an angel. Anyways, after that time of meeting her, I started out working as her errand boy, doing whatever spying missions I could do in heaven and other worlds. Not to forget this one time she sent me on this mission to steal Odin's eye, which can look into the future and overlook the past. The more I did jobs for her, the more she could trust me, and it came to point where she finally did something for me and everyone else, which was this. What do you mean by this, Azazel? Said Baraquile with a look of question planted on his face. Azazel smirked as he answered Baraquile back. By this, I mean give angels the power to rise when they fall. What do I mean by that, you ask? Let me start you with a question, Baraquile. In all your time as a fallen angel, have you ever questioned where your power as a fallen comes from? Why you never feel no remorse for anyone you kill? Have you ever asked yourself why you feel so madly strong when you do something sinful or something considered evil? No. I have never questioned something like that before. I never thought of how I came to be like this when I fell, but now the question does arise in my head. Well, let me tell you a little something you don't know. Baraquile. When Kaguya-sama was still the ruler of heaven, angels were given the freedom to do anything they want, say anything they want, and pretty much be anything they wanted be to, as angels were actually primordial human beings created from Kaguya-sama's own imagination. However, the rules, they all changed when he came into power at the time when Kaguya-sama was defeated by her sons and forced to leave heaven to her moniker when she was sealed inside the Rakuto Sennin, then imprisoned in the moon. The rules made by him took away every ounce of free will and freedom angels had, and it was replaced with order, discipline, and all the bullshit we fallen angels have come to hate today. That wasn't the worst part about it. What you and the others don't know is that we, fallen angels, weren't even supposed to be alive right now. What? Ha ha. It looks like no one knew the truth this all time. The long and short of it is this. When Yamamoto came into power, he wanted angels to face being removed from existence, or in short oblivion, if an angel was to disobey him or God, as he would foolishly say, but Jashin-sama saw this from the eye of Odin before all of it happened, and decided to help us live a second life or a second chance if we were to fall as angels. How? If an angel is to go against God, this angel will lose its light and most of its grace. Its life force as angel will be turned to being half the life force of an angel and half the life force of a heathen, and retain its freedom and free will, then gain the mindset and heart of a heathen, making this angel a being of lost grace but a being raising above control and heavenly submission. So, what you are saying is, fallen angels, or angels of evil under Jashin Sama? Not exactly, smirks. Fallen angels are not good, nor bad, we are in between those two things, and by in between, I mean that we are as free as the air points to human in the park. In actuality, fallen angels are saved by Jashinism and protected by it because of my constant prayer to her to keep us alive and stronger, but what she wants from us is to avoid war and keep a cool head, as she has given us the gift of blissful ignorance just like these humans and the others from all other different worlds were given. I see, that is why you never wanted war, is it? Right you are, Barakwile, right you are. However, looking at how things are now, the war will soon be. Before Azazel could speak again, Donasek appeared before him, and Barakwile just when every single human being left the park with only the two fallen angels remaining, and Donasek didn't even look the slightest bit happy with himself. Hey Donasek, what's wrong? You don't seem to be. Slap. Quote. 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 Shut up, you stupid coward, said Donasek, getting a look of shock from Barakwile, who said to him, what is wrong with you? What is your problem? He is my problem. This bastard, he sold us all to that weak bitch Jashin and her ninja master so we can live away from war like pathetic little defenseless children. He sold Rainer and the others away from me. He doesn't deserve to be our leader. He doesn't deserve our respect for selling our lives to Jashin, said Donasek, and got a fuming glare from Barakwile, who was about to stand up from his seat and give Donasek a piece of his mind, but was stopped by Azazel, who said to him, let him be. The fallen angel turned to Donasek and said to him while rubbing his slapped right cheek, tell me something, Donasek. Did I ever ask for your respect? Do I ever need your permission to keep us alive and out of harm's way? And do you think I would sell my own soldiers away to a transcendent being like Naruto-sama out of fear for the little guy? I don't need to answer those stupid questions of yours, you whimpering cunt. You were always afraid of that weak bitch, and I bet you lick her feet every day when you see her like the slave you. That's enough, Donasek, said Barakwile, but looked at Azazel, who was laughing at the fallen angel before him while standing up, but quickly gave him a hard right knee to the torso, causing Donasek to fall to his knees while coughing up blood at the attack he suffered to his core center. Let's get one thing straight here, Donasek. I don't care what you think of me, and I never did or ever will. I did what I did to keep this faction from being extinct, and hiding the truth from all of you about who we serve was to make sure Jashin-sama's enemies would never come after us in order to get back to her. All this fancy power you have, it's hers, and all the bullshit you and your punk friends have been doing, it's all because she allows you all to do that bullshit. This contract was not drawn up, it was renewed. I don't give a flying fuck how you feel about this, and you can go ahead and tell everyone about Jashin-sama being awake and having a master. Go ahead, run to heaven and scream to your pathetic Michael about the truth. I don't care. Even if they know now, they can't touch us because Jashin-sama's first worshipper is now free, with her brother also being free in the 32nd dimension, and the Blood Army will be up and about in 4 years, not to mention her older brother is also coming out of his personal prison very soon, and Tuka is waiting for one of the factions to do something stupid like attack us, the Fallen Angel faction. That idiot Michael at least has a brain big enough to know when to back off and shut up, unlike you and Kokabel. Donasek looked up to Azazel and spoke to him with a look of malice planted on his face edged with pain. You will pay for this. I swear I will make you pay. I will go to that world and get Rainer, Mittelt and Kalawarner out of their slavery, then I will kill that weak bitch Jashin if that last thing I do. Azazel looked back at Donasek with nothing but apathy, then walked away from Donasek with Barakwile following behind while give a hateful stare at the whimpering form of Donasek. Up in a tree watching the whole spectacle is one Akino, who eye widened at hearing everything Azazel said, then silently left as she thought to herself. I need to tell Bushu about this all. I need to quickly. Kanahagakure no Sato. At the top of a hill overlooking the whole of Kanahagakure no Sato, here we find two women dressed in black cloaks with red clouds on them wearing straw hats that hid their faces, but the only thing that could be seen was their eyes, as one woman had beautiful amber eyes while the other has a pair of fully matured Sharingan eyes. The woman with amber eyes looked over to Izumi to see that she had a very distant gaze in her eyes and could sense a feeling of guilt and regret coming from her. Izumi, this is your home village. How do you feel about coming back here after all this time? You must feel a sense of nostalgia from this all, said the amber-eyed woman. Izumi's gaze quickly reverted back to its stare of indifference and responded. I have nothing to feel for here, Conan. Demo, aren't you supposed to be disgusted and fuming at seeing the village that has wronged you? Small smirk. Sigh, there was a time when I had such a view of this village, but I have come to understand why I lived such a life at the cost of being a victim to war and losing everything I had as a child. Izumi, we need to move in fast and make sure no one is to detect our movements or find out about who we are. The Sandaime Hokage is still alive since Orochimaru has failed to eliminate him, and we cannot afford to delay anything or make one wrong move. Izumi continued to look on at the village before her, and couldn't help but shed a single tear of the memory she has of the night she killed everyone in the Uchiha clan, but more so the most precious person in her life. Makoto Uchiha. X. The two missing ninja were now taking a quiet stroll through Konoha as they would walk up to the civilians of the village and ask them where they could find Naruto. Some would immediately say they haven't seen him, then speed walk away, while others would look at the two women with suspicion, then say they have not seen the Uzumaki clan heads since earlier this morning. The two women were now sitting at a bar with their straw hats on, and the both of them were careful not to speak loudly but only talk quietly, with Izumi drinking sake from a saucer. Is it possible that he could have left the village already? Said Conan. Izumi took a small swig of the drink, then placed the saucer down on the table as she said to her temporary partner. It could be so, but we haven't left to go see his temple. Demo, I don't think going to the clan district wouldn't be a good idea at the current moment. The two women stood up from their booth with Izumi leaving a few ryo for the drink, then stepped out of the bar only to be met with Kakashi and Anko, who is wearing a pair of black sandals and small black bands above her ankles, and she still has her orange mini skirt with short fishnet pants underneath with a skin-tight mesh black short-sleeve shirt underneath her fishnet shirt, and has a diamond-encrusted ring on the middle finger of her right hand. Anko folded her arms as she said with a stoic expression her face, you two. Take off the hats and show us those faces now. The guards you passed don't remember letting you two into Konoha since they were knocked out by a genjutsu, a very similar genjutsu. Izumi looked at Anko for a second, then looked at the ring on her finger as she spoke to her while taking off the straw hat. So the rumors weren't a lie, you really have gotten married to Naruto-kun. Kakashi quickly removed the headband from his eye to show the fully matured Sharingan, then held a kunai in an offense position as he said, Izumi Uchiha, what are doing you here? If you have finally came to your senses about handing yourself over, then I believe you have done the right thing. Conan looked at Izumi, then back to Anko as she said with a stern gaze, are you the wife of the Kyuubi Jinchuriki? If you are, then tell us where he is, and we just might leave this village alone before any drastic measures could be taken here. You and Konoha's copy ninja cannot face 2S ranked ninja no matter what kind of skill you may have. Matt, said Anko, who quickly looked over Conan with her eyes scanning the entire figure of the new Kunoichi and continued. Your name is Conan, right? Right. You're from Omegakure no Sato. You're the cheek I'm supposed to get for Narukoi. Smirks. Hey Kakashi, can you hold off Izumi over there while I try and take this girl to the temple, or at least mark her for Narukoi? Huh, okay. I'll see what I can do, said Kakashi. Then his Sharingan eye soon changed into that of Mangekyo, causing Izumi to eye widen. Conan was confused and shocked at hearing Anko know her name and village, but soon got into a stance when Anko hopped right into the air and shouted. Quote. Giant shadow snake hand. Anko's right arm turned into a giant snake that was the size of a giant snake summon, and flew down straight for Conan, who jumped out of the way before the snake hand could get to her and boom. The snake's head caused a large crater on its impact, with dust arising at the impact of the said snake hand's attack. Conan quickly waved her paper arms at the dust, with the said paper turning into shuriken, but heard them being blocked by metal, meaning it was a kunai that stopped them from hitting their targets. The dust was gone, revealing a grinning Anko standing there, then quickly flew over to Conan in blinding speeds. Conan couldn't get out of the way fast enough, and she was speared right in the torso and pushed through the walls of the bar, landing on the other side of it. Anko sat on Conan's lap with her Conan hands under her knees, then did a few hand signs while saying to Conan, "You want power, right? Well, I can give you some. Lots of it. All I ask is that you leave everything behind, and forget about your past with AIM, your friends, and abandon your organization. If you do that, then my hubby will help you out and maybe, just maybe, give you the life you truly deserve." Uzumaki Sealing Jutsu. Teleportation Seal. Anko's right hand glowed with blue chakra, then slapped it on the right side of Conan's neck, getting a scream of pain from the blue-haired paper user. Anko hopped off Conan once the seal was completely placed on Conan's neck and fully functioning, and smirked as she said to her, "Take your time to think about it, Alheim. Life has been shit for us all, but there is always a second chance once you face the facts and accept change." Conan glared at Anko and threw some paper kunai at her, only for them to be burnt to ashes by black fire coming from Kaharu, dressed in her female Anbu attire with no shoes on, who was standing at the top of a tree looking down at Conan with her trademark stern gaze. "Are you alright, Anko-sama? Peaches and cream, Ba-chan," said Anko with a grin threatening to tear her face in half. Back with Kakashi, the silver-haired Junin was standing there looking at Izumi Uchiha with his Mangekyo Sharingan spinning, then collapsed onto one knee while tiredly exhaling at using so much chakra on the genjutsu he used on a now frozen from shock Izumi. "You see now, you should have just did better than let that younger brother of yours live, Izumi," said Kakashi. Anko came to his side, then helped him up as she said, "We told you not to use that until your reserves are big enough, Kakabaka. But it looks like Izumi-chan knows now." Izumi's look of shock changed back to a look of indifference and was about to speak when Conan came to her side and placed her hand on Izumi's shoulder. "If you want Narukoi, head over to a town nearby. And remember, Alheim, the decision is all yours. Just focus your chakra on that seal, and everything will take its cause from there," smiles warmly. "Izumi, we're leaving now," said Conan, and the two cloaked women left Konoha as Izumi gave a look of sadness and disappointment while Conan glared at Anko, but the look in Conan's eyes said otherwise, as Anko could see that she was really starting to think what she said to her over and over in her mind. Once the two were gone, Kaharu hopped down to Kakashi and Anko with her fox mask on and said to the two Junin, "Hokage-sama would like to see you and the other elite Junin in his office immediately." "Sigh, this day couldn't get any more disturbing," said Kakashi. Anko grabbed a hold of Kakashi's right shoulder and left the area as they sunk into the ground, with Kaharu leaving through a fire shunshin. In the Hokage's office, here we find Kurenai, Asuma, Guy, Ibiki with Anko and a slightly dizzy Kakashi now arriving in the office as everyone was waiting for them to arrive. The Sandaime stood up from his desk with his smoking pipe in hand and said, "Some new information has now come to my attention just recently from Jiraiya-kun. It is information based on a secret organization that has recently visited Konoha just now in pursuit of finding and kidnapping Uzumaki Naruto. However, it seems that I now need to reveal more than I couldn't all those years ago. To-san, I just sensed a chakra signature I haven't sensed in years." "Was that?" "Yeah," said Kakashi, "it's her. Izumi Uchiha. She was just here and she's heading to." Doors bust open. "Where is she?" The Junin in the room turned to see a Sharingan blazing Sasuke. who glared at the sandaime with his hands furiously clenching into fists with his knuckles looking as red as tomatoes from hitting something which had the Junin asking what it could be since there was nothing Sasuke could use to train with at the Uchiha clan compound. Little did they know that a certain pink-haired banshee has offered herself as a sparring partner to him just to get closer for reasons only good to the said screeching banshee. He walked into the office not bothering to close the doors behind him, but was stopped by Guy who said, "Kid, it would be wise to choose the next words you say. I understand your. Get out of my way, cripple," said Sasuke, who pushed Guy's hand out of the way and walked forward to the sandaime. "You, tell me what I deserve to know. Where is she and where did she go? Tell me now, you useless old Tsukiyomi," said Kakashi as he looked into Sasuke's eyes with his Sharingan eye turning into a Mangekyo, and Sasuke screamed as he fell to his knees at the images of the Uchiha massacre being replayed right before his eyes and is forced to relive that night for an entire 72 hours. The screaming ended after 5 minutes and Sasuke was then unconscious at his mind being broken again by the said Sharingan Genjutsu. The sandaime shook his head and said, "I had feared he would know of this. But no matter. What I need to tell all of you now must not leave this room and must be treated as an S-ranked secret not meant for anyone, even the Council of Konoha." Hiruzen motioned his Anbu to leave the office, and once they did, he gave everyone in the room a stern gaze and said, "Izumi Uchiha did not have a motive to killing her entire clan, but it was a mission given to her. With Naruto, Jashin and Jiraiya. It has been a good 17 hours since Naruto, Jashin and Jiraiya left Konoha in search of Naruto's wife to be Tsunade Senju, much to Naruto's ire and Jashin's joy, and secretly, Jiraiya being both proud and jealous, and now the trio were standing in front of a large gate that belongs to a town. Jiraiya quickly showed his ID to the guards with Naruto doing the same while saying Jashin as a servant to his clan then entered as soon as they allowed them to go in. Jiraiya blissfully sighed to himself as he said, "This is my home away from home. A good place to relax and calm the mind when research and work takes too much out of it me." Naruto looked around the place, then found what appears to be a strip club on his right causing him to deadpan as he said, "I see why." Jiraiya noticed where Naruto is looking, then frowned to himself as he said to Naruto, "Look, kid. I promise I won't be doing any of that stuff with you around, and I apologize for what happened with that perv Ebisu back in Konoha. How about I get us checked in a room so I can go meet up with a contact of mine's quickly about Tsunade? As soon as I'm done, I'll come back to you then we can leave to get to her." "Naruto-sama," said Jashin with puppy dog eyes, "my feet hurt. Can we please get a room so I can sit down? Then you can massage them for me." Fine. But you better not run off on me, Ero Sennin," said Naruto getting a tick mark out of Jiraiya from calling him that nickname. The trio finally arrived to a hotel with Jashin walking up to the counter as she said, "We would like a room please." The woman behind counter smiled at Jashin as she responded, "Aw, what a cute little girl. Is she with you?" Jiraiya's eyebrow twitched and was gonna say something mean about Jashin, but stopped when he saw her look back at him with worms crawling over her face into her scalp as her mouth twisted into an evil smirk, causing Jiraiya to shiver in fear and say to the woman, "Why yes. She w with us. 2 rooms please, and make sure they are far apart from each other." "Okay. Here you go. That will be 600 ryo for the night." Naruto quickly walked up to take the keys and pay, then looked at the key chains to see the first key had the room number 9 with the other having the room number 13. The blonde Uzumaki turned to see Jiraiya had already left the hotel with dust at his trail, and sighed to himself as he continued to walk up the stairs with a grinning and eye-smiling Jashin following behind with a skip in her barefooted step. Once they reached room 13, they opened the door using the key and walked in with Naruto closing the door behind him. Jashin quickly hopped on the edge of the bed and placed her backpack on the left side of it, causing sounds of glass banging against each other to be heard from it. Naruto looked at the backpack with his right eyebrow raised and said, "Anyo, Ya-chan, you never really told me what's inside that since you didn't pack any clothes when we left. What do you have in there?" Hee hee. Believe me when I say it's best you just watch what happens when Senju-chan drinks some of this stuff. Facepalms, let me guess. The red wine of Jesus and purple drank with all the other expensive, rare and not for consumption alcohol bottles you have collected when Kagaya-sama was still pregnant with the Rakudo Sennin and his brother. Jashin blushed at Naruto guessing right of what's inside the backpack, then stood up from where she was sitting and walked up to Naruto, then cupped his cheeks as she kissed him right on the mouth with Naruto getting into the kiss, and pulled from it as she said, "You know me all too well. Naruto-sama. Now, about that foot massage." Jashin looked at the door for a second with narrowed eyes, then eye widened for a split second as she said to Naruto, "You should go ahead and get that, Naruto-sama." Naruto could sense a small feeling of excitement well up inside his gray-haired lowly servant and narrowed his eyes in suspicion as he responded, "Ya-chan, what have you and Tuka-chan done with those cards that I should be worried about?" Nothing. Naruto-sama, blushes and sweat drops. "Me and Tuka-chan were playing a regular game of Crazy 8 yesterday morning." "I swear." Deadpan, "You swear all the time, J-cha." Knock 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 knock. Naruto sighed at the all-lying face of Jashin, who sat back down on the edge of the bed while avoiding Naruto's glare as she looked up the ceiling and whistled casually, then did a frustrating sigh as he walked up to the door to open it. Once he did, his eyes looked up to see two very beautiful women looking down at him with stoic and indifferent expressions planted on their gorgeous faces as they were dressed in identical black cloaks with red clouds all over them, and tried to form words out of his mouth but could only open and close it every time he tried to think of something to say as their sheer beauty has stolen Naruto's breath away. Jashin, who was still sitting on the edge of the bed, smirked to herself as she thought. Single quote comma dot. Gotta love the slave game. Naruto-sama will pay me twice the time he spent with Afi-chan. Speaking of her, I haven't seen her since she gave birth to that egg of hers. Izumi looked down to Naruto with a fully matured Sharingan looking deep into Naruto's gloss black and white ringed eyes and said, "Uzumaki Naruto, please, step outside. We would like a word with you. It's a bright and sunny day in Konohagakure no Sato. The Shinobi Academy has concluded for the day, so all the kids have gone out to the park to play together as they should, all except one. This particular boy has chosen a different place to spend his time after school, with the reason being that since none of the kids don't want to play with him at all, then why bother going to any park for that matter? He doesn't enjoy watching other kids play. That's wrong on so many levels. This young 7-year-old blonde boy has decided to spend his time watching this crazy strong girl with the pretty red eyes train in secret. Well, he knows she's training, but he's keeping it a secret too. For the last 4 months, young Naruto has been sneaking up on the mysterious girl from the clan of Rude and Red Eye people to watch her train, meditate, and sometimes cry. The last has always been the most sad for young Naruto to see because from his young innocent eyes, he feels a different type of loneliness from the girl. What kind? He doesn't know, but he knows it's not the same as his since he has seen the girl talk that annoying kid with the bird butt hair a lot, meaning they must be family. Still, to young Naruto, no one this pretty should feel lonely to the point of tears, so his interest and concern for the girl has grown even more since his last visit. Back to young Naruto, he has just arrived at his hidden spot to watch the mysterious Uchiha girl train today, as she already started with exercising her body for now, doing sit-ups and push-ups. This went on for a few minutes, but a few minutes was enough for young Naruto to get bored and lose his step, causing his right foot to step on a weak branch that broke off, but thankfully he didn't have his full weight on that foot as he was able to react quick enough to grab the thick branch he was standing on. Phew. That could have been it, Dadbao. Hopefully she still can't see me. Oh, I can, said the mysterious girl standing on that very same branch and spotted Naruto hanging, which startled him, causing the young Uzumaki to scream in surprise and let go. The girl reacted with a short gasp, but delayed no time in acting fast as she was already on the ground waiting to catch the falling and screaming young blonde as she did, effortlessly. She looked down at Naruto with a stoic expression at first, but then it changed to a mischievous small grin as she said, you know the laws about civilians spying on ninja, don't you? What was once fear for being caught at spying, quickly turned to anger as Naruto got offended at being called a civilian. What? I'm no civvy. I go to the ninja academy. I'm gonna be ninja one day, said Naruto. The Uchiha girl finally put Naruto down on his feet, but with a raised eyebrow she responded to him. Almost every kid in this village wants to be ninja when they grow up. Hell, from how things are now, anyone can be anything they want. What matters is, if you're gonna be a ninja, will you be different from everyone else? Comma dot, comma dot, comma dot. Back to current time. Random town near Tanzaku. Quote dot dot dot. Yeah sure. Let's take this outside. These were the words of Naruto as he calmly stepped out of the room and closed the door behind him, but if he turned around before he did, he would have seen Jashin kicking her feet in glee over another successful play of what she calls the slave game. Not once did Naruto let his eyes wander away from the two beautiful yet dangerous kunoichi now standing in front him across the hallway of the hotel. While they may have caused his heart to skip a beat, the killer intent they're letting off would be hard not to acknowledge for the wonder-struck Uzumaki. Konan narrowed her eyes slightly at Naruto, sensing not much fear or panic from him, but his composure is strong and unbroken. Standing in front of so much killer intent, even roaches would croak from it. She turned to look in Izumi and spoke. We were told reports on the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's time as a Shinobi Academy student no longer matching his current level of skill. Considering he holds the title of being Konoha's most unpredictable ninja, I would say our best choice is making sure there is no escape for him. That won't be necessary, Konan, said Izumi, who also never laid her eyes off of Naruto the entire time, but from what Naruto is seeing, her guard isn't all the way up. It's as if she has no intent to harm. Konan, on the other hand, seems a bit shaken from something. Not to mention she's rubbing the back of her neck a lot. Either they came from Konoha and fought some people there, or something bad must happen to her specifically, Naruto thought to himself. What do you intend to, Izumi? I just said the written reports on him aren't accurate. You could be risking the unknown trying to see the extent of his power. Do not toy with him, said Konan with a stern expression. Izumi, without turning to Konan, replied, "He's the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune and Uzumaki. At most his obvious weakness is Genjutsu, so I'll be able to put him down fast." Naruto raised his eyebrow as he could clearly hear what Izumi said, but did not falter one bit and prepared himself when he looked eyes with Izumi's own, which changed into her Mangekyo Sharingan. Once her eyes were fully changed, without any hesitation she muttered, "Tsukiyomi, comma dot, comma dot, comma dot." Thud, dot, and collapsed forward along with Naruto doing the same. Konan was caught off guard by this. She has seen Izumi do this genjutsu a few times before, but never as she collapsed before. It didn't seem like she was fighting Konoha's copycat ninja physically when they were in Konoha. So what happened here? Were Konan's thoughts as she looked at the two incapacitated ninja before her, but quickly turned around, sensing a man she did not think she would have the opportunity to meet for a long time, much less under different circumstances. Quote, comma dot. You've grown, said Jiraiya with serious expression unlike any other he has ever had before. And for the first time in a long time, Jiraiya felt a great sadness creep up in his heart as he looked Konan, 1/3 of 3 children he trained and cared for all those years ago in AIM. Konan's face was hidden under a shadow for a moment, but she looked up slightly to look back at Jiraiya with a stone-cold gaze of her own. At some point we're bound to meet again, sensei. It's good to see you, regardless of our current situation. Yeah, said Jiraiya as he paused for a moment, then got into a fighting stance with Konan's skin turning into paper as she spread her arms out. Quote, comma dot dot. It's good to see to you, kiddo. Opening her eyes slowly, Izumi finds herself standing in what is supposed to be her Tsukiyomi world with a red sky, black clouds and barren wasteland. But instead, she's home. The Uchiha clan compound, her room to be exact. Still clean and furnished as if she never left. She quickly walked over to the window and saw PPL at the gates of the compound. Members of her clan going about their everyday lives as if that horrible night never happened. The door to her room opened, causing Izumi to tense, not knowing what's gonna happen next, but she led down only a little to see it's Naruto. Quote, comma dot. What is this? Asked Izumi. Naruto could sense her confusion and bubbling anger, which made him respond fast, wait please. I'm not directly causing this. This is what you want. What I want? Asked Izumi, and Naruto nodded as he replied, yeah. This is the infinite Tsukuyomi, well, my version anyways. Before you could cast your genjutsu, I casted mine without needed to say it out loud. In here, all of your deepest desires come true. Of course Izumi is shocked to her Naruto can even do such a genjutsu in the first place, as this is raising a million questions in her head, but before she could ask, Naruto spoke up again, getting her attention. Also, I finally have your answer to that question of yours. Oh, so you do remember me, said Izumi as her guard was now fully down, seeing as, well, the little boy who always spied on her all those years ago hasn't forgotten her, and isn't fazed by her past actions as well. She sighed, but this wasn't just any sigh. This was a sigh she has been holding in for quite some time, and letting it out has caused her body to relax more as her eyes reverted back to their true onyx black color. You thought about my question for that long, Naruto? Asked Izumi with a slight smirk on her face, and Naruto brushed the back of his head sheepishly while responding, well, it kinda stuck with me, you know. I didn't wanna be some cookie cutter ninja like the rest. I wanted to be special, but I also needed a reason to be special. Anyone can spam a bunch of ninjutsu if they have enough chakra and the time to pick up a scroll, but what makes a ninja different from the rest is what they do with their arsenal, how they use it and why. Quote, comma dot dot. Okay, but what is your reason then for wanting to be special, Naruto? Do you still want to be Hokage just so everyone can take you more seriously? Is what Izumi asked, and Naruto shook his head at the question while chuckling as he answered back, it's only now I understand why you got so mad when I said that. That position is a whole lot more than just wearing a hori and hat all day telling PPL what to do. The Hokage has to make all the tough decisions in the village. Yes, and some of those decisions won't make everyone happy. Some of them will come at a great cost, said Izumi, but Naruto went to finish her statement as he sat right next to her but did not look at her face. A cost that someone has to pay. I'm sorry for what happened to you, Izumi-san. Naruto. I have cried for many nights over what happened. I still do at times, but don't worry. I have a lot more to regret now. Kakashi has shown me what has become of Sasuke, and it seems leaving him alive has killed him more than spared him. The signs were already there before that night, but sigh, said Izumi, not having the strength to even try and think of her younger brother at this moment. You don't sleep much, do you? Asked Naruto. Izumi nodded with a snicker and replied, got tired of seeing my mother's face, so I've taken to using genjutsu to help my body get the rest it needs. I can't say the same for my mind though. Yikes, said Naruto before he continued, take as much time to sleep as you want in here. As of now, anything we do in here affects our real bodies too. You can do that? Asked a shocked Izumi, with Naruto going to elaborate further, I'm sure you have more questions than that about me. But in a nutshell, my infinite Tsukuyomi is a lot more complicated than the original. Otherwise we would be turning into white husks as we speak. Oh yeah, speaking of, how are you doing all this? Does this involve the girl who calls herself Jashin? Asked Izumi. Naruto only snickered in response to what Izumi said and spoke up, yeah, you can say that. On the second stage of the Chunin exams, I got separated from my team when Orochimaru decided to show up for Sasuke. I see he fell through with his words, said Izumi, who then continued, Orochimaru was a member of the Akatsuki once. But he left shortly after I beat him down with an inch of his life. He vowed to acquire the power of my clan one way or another. I had hoped he wouldn't go for Sasuke, but, from what I was shown, any part of the little brother I once knew is all gone now. Naruto was confused by the end of Izumi's statement. Not to say he cares for Sasuke or anything, but he is Izumi's only remaining family. Is there more to Sasuke than just him being just the worst person on earth? For now, Naruto felt it would be best finish his explanation first and bring this up another time. When I got separated from Sakura and Sasuke, I fell into this deep hole that led to this whole underground area with a massive temple. Right in front of it was Jashin sleeping in a levitating glass casket. I woke her up and she changed everything, Izumi-chan. I haven't really sat down to take it all in yet, you know. The fact that I'm literally capable of too much now. Too much, you say? Izumi asked with a raised eyebrow to show her confusion, and Naruto stood to stand in front of Izumi and spoke up again. When you spoke to your hot friend, I mean your partner, said Naruto, waving his arms about with Izumi snickering and I smiling at Naruto, describing Konan as hot, reminding her of some of the moments they shared briefly at that time they met way back then. To Izumi, Naruto has always struggled with lying and sometimes speak his mind without thinking first. It's clear puberty did not change that in him too, fufufu, Izumi thought to herself. Once Naruto was composed again, he sighed and then said, "This group you work for. I know about you guys from, let's just say, someone who doesn't know I'm listening in when he thinks no one is there." Huh, what do you mean by that? Asked very confused Izumi, and Naruto sighed once again but replied after to Izumi. Quote. This is something not even the Sandaime knows, and I tell him everything since I trust him. 2 weeks before the final part of the Chunin exams, Ya-chan decided to teach me her version of Ninshu. Ninshu is a technique the Rakudo Sennin made to help everyone on Earth have a better understanding of each other so everyone could live in peace. Or something like that. Obviously his descendants thought otherwise, but that's a story for another time. Jashin created her own version of the technique, which is taking a small bit of her energy and connecting it to the sun. From there she is instantaneously connected with all members of her clan, or rather anyone and everyone related to her closely in blood. When I did the technique for the first time, I found a lot of my clan members. There's this girl Karen, this other girl Tayuya, this lady Mei Terumi, this other lady Makima, and my cousin. Your leader. Quote, comma, dot, quote. Quote, comma, dot, quote. Quote, comma, dot. Wow. So from there, what else happened? Izumi asked, while trying not to ask further questions on the enigma that is Jashin to her, and Naruto of course went on speaking. The first time went off without a hitch, but the second time, I decided to see what would happen if I used the moon instead. I know who's up there, so I thought maybe I could. I don't know, just ask Jashin's mom some questions I have about all these powers and dreams of Bin-ha. Wait, Naruto. Did you just say someone's on the moon and it's this girl, Jashin's mother? I'm getting more and more lost here, Izumi said, and Naruto could only chuckle in response to this as he said back, trust me, I'm only scraping the surface with Ya-chan's family. If you ever felt like a speck among millions of other specks in this galaxy. Her clan will only make you feel even more small. Tell you what, when you find the time after this, let's meet up somewhere and I'll go into more detail about everything since you last saw me. For now, when I did the technique at night, I sent the same amount of my energy as I did before, hoping that would do something to Ya-chan's mom, and it did. Whether she did this subconsciously or not, I still don't know, but without even trying she went to the next person and threw my energy down to Earth right into Nagato's core, thus connecting the both of us together in the spiritual plane. Actually, I think I was connected to someone before, but now it's Nagato. Our connection is one-sided at the moment unless I reach out him, thus making it complete, but I'm not gonna do that anytime soon, seeing what he's all about and what happened to him has affected him badly, that me trying to talk to him that way would do me more harm than good at the moment, since even with all that I can do now, I still know experience beats power if power isn't smart about it. When it happened the first time, our connection, he was talking to you and all the other members of the Akatsuki. I never did it again out of fear he might just notice me when I do connect, since he does have the Rinnegan. This is a lot to take in, Naruto, so you're in bed with deities, huh? Said Izumi, and Naruto could only give a dry laugh in response while saying, ha 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 ha, that's one way to put it. The two then looked at each other, then laughed before sharing a moment of silence as they looked outside the window of Izumi's room. However, it didn't last long when Izumi turned to Naruto and asked a question she didn't think of asking until now that she understands the genjutsu she's under, somewhat anyway. Say, Naruto, is it possible I could have my mother here? I wouldn't try that if I were you, Naruto quickly responded with a look of fright on his face, and this had Izumi concerned ask the blonde Uzumaki why, to which he replied, well, when I still trying to work out how to make sure my version of this genjutsu works different from the original which. Hey, yeah, the victim ending up as this white humanoid husk thing doesn't sound all too good. I needed some help making sure I tied the genjutsu down to my energy for now until I can work up enough chakra to make it infinite. Since Kakashi-sensei was the only person who knew about me being me, he volunteered to be the human guinea pig for the genjutsu. The first few times went well, but then, in one session we had, he made his dad, and instead of having a talk with him like he wanted, he had his handed to him, and this was before I knew how to, yeah, it's a very long story. Until I can somehow disconnect the genjutsu from the victim's state of mind, it's best not to make or call out any diseased loved ones very close to you unless you really made peace with them. I see. I might actually need you to put me under this genjutsu sometime again, cause that might be the only closure I could get, said Izumi with low voice, but she was quickly pulled out her sudden slump when she felt her left hand being squeezed and turned to see Naruto looking at her with those stupid eyes of his burning with passion and relentlessness just as they were when he was still a child. If you really want closure that bad, then meet me at the old Uzumaki shrine next year on this day. I know how to use the mask, so I can spare you an hour with your mom. Or anyone else, Izumi-san. I think I know why you let Sasuke live, and that cannot be it. No, I won't let it. You're worth so much more than that, and I know I'll never understand what you went through and how you feel about it because I've never lost anyone, seeing I never had anyone to begin with until now, but please, just give me a chance to help you start over. Naruto, you don't have to come back home if you don't want to, but I'll find a way to clear your name. Yes, but, please Izumi-san, if nothing else then, you matter to me, and losing you would seriously kill me. I have people in my life right now, and with my luck there'll be more, but I still want you to be a part of that too, said Naruto, as he looked down at the floor but still holding onto Izumi's hand. Single quote. Sigh. This boy, if anything, I always knew I was gonna be right. He's more than a handful compared to you, Kushina Obaa-san, Izumi thought to herself, as she stood up from where she was sitting to kneeling down in front of Naruto, and kissing him on the forehead, which made the young Uzumaki clan head blue and release a short gasp at this. I wasn't saying no, Naruto. The things that Kakashi has shown me along with what we spoke about here today has shaken me from the path I had laid out for myself. But I still need to sort things out first before I can make the drastic change on moving on and starting over. For example, we're adversaries if you haven't forgotten that, and we're in the middle of a fight as we speak. So how about we just put a lid on this for now, and I'll send a raven on when we can meet and finish this talk, in real life next time, smile. Oh crap, I totally forgot about the other hot chick. And the pervy sage is probably here already. Yelled Naruto, and Izumi, well. The other hot chick, Naruto-kun. So this harem business I'm hearing about wasn't an order made by the fire court then, you are some kind of sleazy playboy. Ha ha ha, look at the time we go back, Izumi-san kai. In what seemed like only few minutes of heartfelt talking was happening with Naruto and Izumi Uchiha. In reality, Conan and Jiraiya were and are still engaged in a battle that seems to be hitting its climax, as this whole time both master and student have only fought in both taijutsu and weaponry so far, seeing as the space they're in doesn't allow for big moves to happen unless they wanna harm the other two people in the hallway who were incapacitated. With a tired moan, Izumi opens her eyes to find herself on the ground facing down. She looks forward and sees Jiraiya the Toad Sannin standing in front of Naruto, also in the same position as her but not awake yet. And he looks worse for wear as his bleeding on the left side of body, and he has the Yondaime Hokage's signature jutsu in his right hand poised to attack. She couldn't see Conan at first, but then she saw her legs and feet before her. So, you wanna go on or will you retreat like I've been telling you? Jiraiya, while trying to mask the pain of having his left lung punctured by 5 of Conan's paper Senbon. The last thing he thought would injure him this week is Senbon of all things. Dear Kami, I'm slacking off if I can let that get me. As soon as this is over I'm gonna need to go to Mount Myoboku to heal up, and set up training for later with Ma and Pa. This can't happen again, were the thoughts of Jiraiya as he tried to close one of the wounds on his body with his left hand while still keeping the Rasengan in his right hand stable. Before Conan had a chance to speak, she felt 2 hands grab her ankles, and just like that, black ravens burst out of thin air to fly around her fast, leaving black feathers in their wake. They span for a few seconds then vanished, taking both Conan and Izumi along with them. Jiraiya finally fell down on one knee and released the sigh he had been holding this whole time, only to cough up blood furiously. This is what woke Naruto up and made him jump up to his feet to rush over to Jiraiya. What happened to you? Asked Naruto. And finally, Jashin steps out of the hotel room with her hands in her pocketing, fishing for something. Oh, he fought the brunette and underestimated her terribly, and that's how she got 5 lucky shots in. Here, eat this. Helps with hangovers and for you, inflicted injuries, said Jashin, who then threw what appears to be blue bean at Jiraiya, which Naruto caught and looked at before he turned to his godly servant and asked, which one is this one? Looks like that bean I took when I went too far in training that one time. That's an Enzo bean, Naruto-sama, said Jashin, before she continued, think of it as the dumbed-down version of a senzo bean. It won't be as effective, so he's still gonna need medical attention. I can, get back to Konoha with reverse summoning myself to the toads first. But Naruto, you're gonna have to continue the mission without me, said Jiraiya. Naruto was surprised by this as seen from his widened eyes, and Jashin was the one to voice his shock as she asked, doesn't that seem a bit irresponsible? His Achunin, said Jiraiya before he coughed again but continued, I know the kid is strong enough to protect himself against some A-rank ninja, and those 2 won't be coming back. If you think I'm in bad shape you should see the other guy, The other guy has a broken left arm, some broken ribs, a dislocated shoulder, and a vagina, said Jashin, which got her some paperweight thrown at her head. Paperweight that Naruto pulled from out of thin air, mind you, from Jashin's point of view. Now's not the time, Ya-chan. And he's right, they won't come back for me for a while. I'll be fine, but if a worst case scenario does happen I'll summon a toad to let you know, was what Naruto said. He gave the Enzo bean to Jiraiya, who quickly ate it, nodded to Naruto, then left in a poof of smoke. Naruto turned around to look at Jashin, who at first had a blank expression on her face, which is as serious as it gets with her, but now she was standing there grinning from ear to ear like certain Cheshire cat with her arms crossed over her chest. Sue, they're pretty hot, right? And don't bother denying it. I know for a fact you always secretly had a crush on Izumi Uchiha, Naruto-sama, said Jashin, but all she got in return was a chop to the head which she gave an ite to as Naruto glared at her and said, when we get home I'm burning those cards. Whatever magic you set in place with the other lady, you better undo it. I'm not gonna manipulate anyone into being with me. But that's not we're doing, I swear, said Jashin, and Naruto did not budge on the glare, which Jashin frowned slightly as she continued, seriously, we're not wrapping anyone's strings of faith to you, Naruto-sama. We're just helping to save lives, as you would want us to. That woman Conan, she was destined to die a worthless death at the ends of Madara, trying to protect the corpse of your cousin. And Izumi, Sasuke did far worse to her before he gave her death. Yes, Naruto-kun, Sasuke will grow to be strong, I saw this with Odin's eye, so saving Izumi to be with you was honestly better than letting her face that. Quote, comma dot. Grunt. We'll talk about this later. For now, let's just get going. Since Jiraiya's not here, we can take it easy so I can train for the rest of the day, then tomorrow night we teleport to her location. You have her energy signature, right? Asked Naruto, and Jashin gave a nod in response. Naruto raised his hand at Jashin, but only to pat her head this time, which cheered her up, snickered and pushed the hand away while saying, I know they may look like dog ears, but that's my hair, Naruto-sama. I am not a yokai. The next day, Tanzaku Town. By the Tanzaku Castle, here we find two ladies and one small but well-dressed pig taking in the sights as they walk on by. One lady is a fair-skinned woman of average height and slender build with onyx eyes and jet black hair, which is straight and shoulder length with bangs that cover her ears and frame her face. For clothing, she has on a long bluish-black kimono with white trimmings, held closed by a white obi, and open-toed sandals with low heels. The other lady, however, is bit more bodacious, as she is a fair-skinned woman with brown eyes and straight blonde hair that parts above her forehead and being shoulder-length with bangs that frame her face and the rest reaching her lower back tied into two ponytails. Some of the blonde woman's defining features are the red nail polish on both her fingernails and toenails and using a soft pink lipstick, but obviously it's the large pair of each rivaling the size of basketballs. Usually the true measurement of her size is mentioned by a certain super pervert when he's nearby. For clothing, the woman has on a pair of open-toed, strapped black sandals with high heels, a gray, kimono-style blouse with no sleeves held closed by a broad dark bluish-gray obi that matches her pants, as the blouse is closed quite low, revealing her, let's say, important headlights. On top of this is a grass-green haori with the kanji for gamble on the back, inside a red circle. The black-haired woman holding up the well-dressed pig turned to her left to look at the blonde woman besides her, and raised her right eyebrow in concern, seeing something she never thought she lived to see the day. Her sensei sober and not having a bad day. At least she's not smiling uncontrollably as if she been drugged or something, shivers. Why does the thought of that give me shvers? The jet black-haired woman named Shizune thought to herself, before she focused her attention back on the woman besides her. Quote, Tsunade-sama, forgive me if I'm being nosy today, but you've been a lot less bothered and stressed these last few days than you ever have been. Even when you're, under the influence, you don't seem to let yourself go so much. It's like you actually enjoy drinking now. And how is that a bad thing? 'Cause to me it seems like you making sound like it is, responded the blonde woman now named Tsunade with a side-eye that caused Shizune to jump and quickly answer back, NN0. It's completely fine that you're more calm and collect and having fun, Tsunade-sama. I'm just stating. Oh, relax, will ya? I'm just messing around. Honestly, I don't know myself either. And it's not like our money problems have gone away suddenly, they are still there. Still though, I have feeling today just might be the day I can a more stronger drink than the usual without needing to drop my blouse a little lower. Stupid men can't do something for someone out of the kindness of their heart. The last time a guy did something out of the kindness of his heart, you sent him the hospital out the kindness of her heavenly kick of pain, said Shizune, and Tsunade did not let her win as she clapped back, because he, out of the kindness of his damn second pathetic head, decided to cop a feel of my when my back was turned to him. Quote, He was pushed, Tsunade-sama. Greetings, Tsunade. I see you have not aged a single day since I last laid eyes on your person. The voice that spoke these words made Tsunade's fight sense return full force as she knew whose voice this is, with the pig in Shizune's arm cowering, trying to hide itself further in Shizune's embrace, releasing a small oink as it did. Orochimaru. Long time no see, said Tsunade as she turned to her left and saw Orochimaru standing down a passage close to the castle itself. She walked over to Orochimaru but stayed a few feet away from him. Shizune followed her of course, but dropped the pig named Tauntaun on the ground to quickly run to safety before she did. I see the years have treated you well, my old team Matt. We both know you didn't come all the way out here just have a little chat with me, you damn bastard. So why don't we just cut to it already and tell me why you're here? I have somewhere to be, said Tsunade, interrupting Orochimaru, who didn't seem to mind in the slightest as he narrowed his eyes and continued. Cuckoo, still a straightforward woman even after all these years. So be it then. I'm sure word has already spread of what transpired in Konoha just recently. Tsunade scoffed at her pale-skinned teammate and said, yeah. You tried to kill Sarutobi-sensei and failed. Only because. Orochimaru stopped himself from yelling as he released a breath through his nose and continued, let's not get into specifics here. Yes, I fought sensei, but he had assistance with him that result in my current unfortunate circumstances. Kabuto, who was standing beside Orochimaru from his left side, went over to his lord, and raised up the sleeves of his arms to show them to Tsunade, who eye widened slightly at the gruesome sight, with Shizune giving a small gasp as well. Tsunade quickly composed herself and said, whatever that is, does not look like modern medical ninjutsu could heal, you damn fool. Oh come on now, Tsunade. We both know your skills and talents know no bounds. So, what I propose is, you heal my arms back to the great shape they were in. And I in turn will help you with something I know you would kill to have. For you see, I have developed a jutsu that brings the dead back to life. What? Was all Tsunade said as a shadow covered her face, and Shizune looked on with concern, worried for her dear teacher, but did not drop her guard as she switched her focus back on Kabuto, who only smirked back at her glare. You heard right, Tsunade. With this jutsu I developed, I could revive them both back. All you have to do is help me get back my arms. Before the snake Sanin could finish his words, he was forced to jump out of the way as Tsunade came rushing in blind speeds with her right hand held back, aiming to take someone's head off with a mean strike, and that unlucky fool was Kabuto, who got punched right into the castle, which caused it to crumble down in destruction. Orochimaru was quickly by Kabuto's side, seeing him knocked out cold, meaning he didn't have time to see this coming at all, taking the full hit, rendering him unconscious and probably with a broken nose, no teeth from his mouth bleeding, and most definitely a concoction. What? How is she that fast? It's been years since I last heard of Tsunade ever getting into a fight with anyone, period, so she should be the most rusty of us three. What the hell is going on here? Were Orochimaru's thoughts as he grinded his teeth in anger at first, but closed his eyes and took a deep breath, then release it to calm himself down. He turned around to face Tsunade and place his foot on Kabuto's back so he could take him with as he sunk down into the ground, but not before speaking loud enough for Tsunade to hear. I will be back in 1 week. Take the time to think about it. Until then, Tsunade. As soon as he was gone, Tsunade released what felt like the heaviest sigh she was holding on, but her moment of rest was ended shortly when she looked to see the damage her one punch has caused. Shizune, how much money do we actually have left? And if no money, do we have anything valuable we can sell to cover the cost of this for now? Tsunade asked. Shizune answered back. Never mind that, Tsunade-sama. I know this is gonna be redundant to ask, but did you see just how fast you moved to attack that guy? Oh no. Are you saying I'm faster than I normally am? Asked Tsunade, and she looked down at her hand and closed it into a fist while thinking to herself, actually, I barely put anything behind that punch. I feel better. Younger even. Did I eat or drink something to cause this today? We'll figure that out later, Tsunade-sama. You're right to focus on this problem. We should go to the authorities and get this matter handled first, then we can head to the hotel so we look into this further, said Shizune. Tsunade could only look up at the sky then walk away, to which Shizune followed, not wanting to be left behind obviously. Night time. In a bar, sitting at one of the tables is both a tired and frustrated Tsunade and Shizune, who spent the whole day dealing with the authorities of Tanzaku town over the destruction of the castle, and calling in a lot of favors to pay the damage as well, which has left Tsunade with even worse debt than before. Not to say she was doing good before, but now it's not even funny. Yeah, we're going home, said Tsunade, and Shizune wasn't that much shocked hearing this as she did mention it before, but she's still worried that Tsunade might not be all that ready to do so, mostly because she believes even with all the weirdness of today, her teacher hasn't moved on from the passing of her younger brother and Shizune's uncle Dan. She looked at her teacher and saw her sober, yes, but really in need of drink after the day just had. Unfortunately, they're utterly broke to the point where they don't even have enough money for a place to sleep at tomorrow. Who knew destroying a large tourist attraction would cost so much? Well, we do as of now, were Shizune's thoughts as she patted Taunton, only giving a tired oink back to her. Tsunade-sama, maybe we could try going to water country again. I know the civil war is still going on, but if... Shizune was interrupted by the look of surprise on Tsunade's face, and turned to look in the direction she was looking at to see a boy who oddly looks like a carbon copy of the Yondaime Hokage back in his youth. The boy's eyes are different, being a more vibrant ocean blue than what Shizune remembers, and for clothes the boy is wearing black jumpsuit pants with black shinobi sandals, a white t-shirt with a pentagram on it, a small platinum braid chain and a black Konoha shinobi headband tied around his head. Besides the boy is a girl shorter than him sporting pupilless red eyes and long luscious gray hair going past her buttocks reaching to her knees, and at the top of her head is what looks like white wolf-like ears, but that's just how her hair is shaped. The little girl is wearing some odd clothing that could be described as a uniform of some sort from Shizune's perspective, Japanese 8th grader school uniform for boys, but she had no shoes on at all. Quote, so I was actually lied to then, said Tsunade, who then sat back with a shadow covering a face for a few moments before she cracked her knuckles and continued, yeah, we're going home all right. Should I call them over here? Asked Shizune, and Tsunade nodded while drinking some water. Shizune raised her hand, to which Naruto and Jashin saw from where they were standing and instantly spotted the wandering Sannin they were sent to retrieve, and wed to Naruto. Speaking of which, he quickly cleared his throat and pinched Jashin on her right buttock as hard as he could, which got her to stop giggling at him and give a small yelp in pain. Naruto then turned to Jashin and whispered, I'll do the talking, just please don't get my face smashed in, okay? The pervy sage mentioned she has low tolerance for bullshit, so. Oh, don't be so scared, Naruto-sama. Trust me, I have enough alcohol to keep the party going into next week if we have to. But I'm confident you can do this just fine, so just relax, Jashin said while giving a thumbs up and eye smiles to Naruto, to which he snorted at and walked over to Tsunade's table. Standing before her, Naruto gave a respectful bow to both Shizune and Tsunade. Greetings, my name is Naruto Uzumaki and this is my servant, whose name I can't mention for private reasons. Can I by chance join you? I'll buy us drinks or we can drink what my servant brought. I'll have to go reserve the table for us first and buy a bottle either way, said Naruto. Smirk, nice to meet you Naruto-kun. Yeah, you can sit with us and get the table reserved. I'm literally flat broke, so I'm not gonna say no to a free drink, Tsunade replied, and this made Shizune raise her eyebrow at this. As all her life, the brunette has never seen Tsunade take a drink she was offered for free by a man ever. Yes, this is a teenager but a male nonetheless. Her reason for doing so was mostly paranoia of spiked drinks and some men thinking that being given something must mean you must offer something back, so she just doesn't bother with taking free drinks from guys, period. Naruto nodded in thanks at this and motioned for Jashin to take a sit as he went to go speak with the manager of the bar. Jashin chose to sit next to Shizune and place the backpack under the table. Quote, My name is Jashin. A pleasure to meet you both, said Jashin. And this got wide eyes at Shizune, and a chuckle from Tsunade, who spoke, if anything I thought Jashin was supposed to be some big scary 12-headed dragon capable of destroying galaxies with just the swipe of his tails. Or at least that's how what the book says. Gasp. You have my old book. The one with the blood of a million civilizations. There's a whole blank page in the middle, but if you light it on fire you'll get a secret. It also says Avenue Monad when you push enough spiritual chakra into right. Huh, Monad. I haven't said my father's name in so long, said Jashin. Tsunade, was at a loss for words at hearing the little girl before her describe two very distinct details of the book only she and her grandfather knew, and no one else in the clan knew about the book until she found it. Then it vanished after the Uzumaki clan fell. Holy crap. Either you had it before ancestors of the Senju clan did, or you're him in the flash, said Tsunade, and Jashin only gave a dark smirk with worms under her skin going down from her forehead past the bridge of her nose disappearing to the back of her neck. I haven't assumed dragon form in a very long time. And the next time I do, that book will have 1,000,000 more pages. Quote, comma, quote. Quote, comma, quote. I'm gonna pretend I didn't see worms in your face, said a horrified Tsunade, with Shizune agreeing with her strongly as she nodded her head faster than the eye could see. Jashin only laughed at this and responded, I'm sorry, it's something I like to do from time to time just to scare the hell out of people who don't believe me. Seeing as anything else would get Naruto-sama in trouble. It seems like the kid must been doing just fine in Konoha if the goddess of blood has chosen to serve him, said Tsunade with narrowed eyes, to which Jashin quickly raised her hands in self-defense and spoke, he found my mother's temple and thus found me, so I didn't seek him out myself, he's completely safe. Wait, Tsunade-sama, do you actually believe this little girl? Wasn't that worm in face thing just a genjutsu? Asked Shizune. You have good sensory skills. Did you sense any chakra on her face? Did you notice her chakra spike, meaning she started a genjutsu? Was all Tsunade had to say to get Shizune to sit in shock and silence with her mouth agape for a few minutes, right up until Naruto finally came back with a bottle of sake and 4 saucers. The blonde Uzumaki took the open sit next to Tsunade and was about to talk when he noticed Shizune's expression of shock and horror. What happened? Asked Naruto, and Tsunade was the one to answer him, your servant here introduced herself and showed proof. Don't worry, she'll be fine. Naruto looked at Jashin, who of course decided to wink and mouth, you got this. To him, which he just sighed while slapping his forehead. When I was a kid I watched my granduncle summon the Shinigami for this pedo who got caught trying to sneaking up on his next victim. At that point he hadn't gotten the whole thing down, so not only did the scumbag feel the presence of death, but we all did in that arena. I thought that would be the only god I would ever meet in this life, turns out my luck thought otherwise, said Tsunade, and this got Naruto to look at her with his own look of surprise as he questioned, you're taking this in better than most people do. How? Remember the book in my mother's library, Naruto-sama? The one that's gone missing but will not be retrieved. She has it. Or had it. What happened to it? It killed everyone I sold it to, so I buried it in training ground 44. This was after I lost my little brother, said Tsunade, and this finally brought Shizune out of her shock only to pull her right back as she also questioned, oh dear Kami. Is that why there's so many ferocious beasts there? And the general lack of humanity? Seriously, it's a place where kids go to die, said Naruto. You know, maybe that could be true, and it might be problem later if I do end up fighting someone. That book is on auto update every time I do anything major, so me getting into a fight could yield a bad outcome for the people of Konoha, said Jashin, and both Naruto and Tsunade nodded at her statement, with Naruto being the one to speak. We'll deal with that after this. Speaking of, Tsunade-san, is it okay if I call you that? Asked a nervous Naruto. Tsunade, in the middle of sipping her 4th saucer with the last 3 counting as a swig of the bottle before anyone could see her, turned to smile at Naruto and respond, I usually get that, but you can call me something less serious than that in private. You know of our status, right? I'm sure Jiraiya showed you the scroll. Isn't that why you're here? Well, not entirely. Originally I was just accompanying the pervy sage on this mission, but he got injured on the way here. He's fine, by the way. I got word he'll be here tomorrow from Mount Myoboku. Anyway, we were sent on a mission to let you know the Sandaime is retiring, and both the Council of Konoha and the Daimyo have chosen you to be the Godime Hokage. I thought I'd get punched by now, said Naruto, who proceeded to check himself to see if he's still alive, and Tsunade genuinely laughed at this before she spoke, now why would I go kill the messenger? I don't know. The pervy sage talked about how you really hate the position. He didn't say why though, answered Naruto. Tsunade poured herself some more sake to drink but also spoke at the same time as she did. He's right, I have issues with the position but not for the same reasons as before. At least right now just thinking about it, I feel different. First off all, no one knows how my grandfather died to this day and any attempts of investigating this have been derailed since my granduncle passed. Secondly, for all the good and the wisdom I know Sarutobi-sensei for, his first time as Hokage has led to more damage than good and don't even get me start on both of our clans, Naruto-kun. Your dad, you know who your father is right? Hi, I found out a couple weeks ago, said Naruto, and Tsunade drank from a saucer first before she continued. Your dad did the best he could but he left a lot things Sarutobi-sensei had put in place like the combination of civilian education and shinobi education under one curriculum. There's more to it than that, but originally I did hate it, because what it has done to the people I care about in my life. At her last statement, Shizune looks down. Remember who her teacher is talking about. Tsunade had a distant look in her eyes thinking of the smiling faces of her younger brother Nawaki, and her late lover Dan. Can I ask you a question, Tsunade-san? Asked Naruto who was looking down at his saucer filled with sake. Tsunade only nodded in reply, to which Naruto then spoke. Those people, how did they feel about being Hokage? My little brother was always passionate about it. He had all these crazy ideas, snickers. And Dan, he was more driven to take the hat and chair than me. Sometimes I'd question if besides myself and family did he think about anything else but being Hokage, smiles. I guess they'd disagree with how I felt really, said Tsunade. Naruto kept quiet for a moment to finally drink his first saucer for the night, then he spoke up again, it's not my place to say anything, and I don't even know what it feels like to lose someone since I never had anyone until recently, but I think you should try out their ideas and dreams. Make them yours until you have your own again. Smiles. I'm way too old to have hopes and dreams. But I think I'll do what you say. It's not like I have anything else better to do. And that reminds me, I'm broke. I was coming home anyway, said Tsunade. Naruto was about to say something but was interrupted by Jashin who clapped her hands and spoke, mission accomplished. Finally. I've been meaning to drink this stuff since I put it in the bag. And then proceeded to reach down to the backpack under the table to pull out a bottle with deep red liquid branded Scottish Beethier Fire and 2 bottles with turquoise liquid inside branded snake venom alcohol. To Shizune and Tsunade, this was some weird looking alcohol with branding they've never seen before. But to Naruto, he could only hope nothing bad happens to him tomorrow morning. As far as he knows, alcohol is alcohol, but with Jashin, never assume something might seem the way it looks, ever.